Holy crap! What is going on? I spend one video kind of defending the honor of Bethesda and Redfall, and this fanboy is just stabbed in the back so quickly with today's news. My oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not dilly-dally. If you're new here, you're into Bethesda news, information, conversations about the likes of Redfall, Starfield, and whatever else they're releasing, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. So if you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard, but 30 FPS ain't the wave. You know, with Xbox, there are times where I feel like they are the subject of an unfair narrative compared to PlayStation and Nintendo, where we see things like Hi-Fi Rush getting docked review scores because certain outlets believe since Xbox hasn't delivered many exclusive games that they need to be punished for that. It's just weird things like that that happen to this ecosystem where I don't sympathize for them. They're a big corporation making millions and millions of dollars, but I look at that and go, you know, sometimes they're just not covered fairly by press and content creators alike. With that in mind, though, today is one of those days where you understand why Xbox can be viewed as the second-class citizen in the gaming community, and that they just are perceived as the ones lagging behind, even if sometimes they're not and they are leaders. These situations are exactly why, where they just dig their own grave. So, ladies and gentlemen, 30 FPS ain't the wave, and Redfall is appearing to launch at 30 FPS with no 60 FPS option. This is a big controversy at the end of 2022, where we saw Plague Tale Requiem come out at 30 FPS on PlayStation. It ran perfectly fine in my experience on PC, and over on Xbox Series consoles, it hit 45, so some folks were a little uncertain about that, but Gotham Knights was the big talking point at 30 FPS, where a lot of people went, no, 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 like you cannot launch like this. They did anyway. And while the quality of the game, in my opinion, wasn't high, I think the 30 FPS moment was a bit of a dagger to this game. So now with Redfall, this one hurts even more. You see these reports that I've been covering here on the channel, like Arcane's relief and having the PS5 version potentially canceled while Microsoft has denied that claim. I'm gonna call a bit of a white lie on that one because it probably wouldn't look good for them. But Arcane breathes a sigh of relief. They said, we get to focus on one platform. Todd Howard said much of the same for Starfield. It's good just to focus on one platform and squeeze all the power out of it. So you'd be forgiven for, after seeing all of the trailers, my preview, other people's previews, all of the coverage happening over at IGN First, being at 60 FPS, that the game itself on consoles would launch at 60 FPS, especially when we're looking at a first-person shooter in an online environment. But it is not. It has been confirmed by the game's official Twitter account that Redfall will launch with a quality mode at 30 FPS for both Series X and Series S. Xbox, you're killing me. Bethesda, on this one, you're killing me. But really, Xbox is where the conversation is going to be targeted because, look, 2022 was a dagger moment for many people's hopes and dreams for the Xbox console. I think it's fair to say fans have been extremely patient with this brand in waiting for the new generation to truly begin in earnest. Of course, we've seen things pick up in cloud gaming and Game Pass, and that is exciting, but nothing says we are here, come play on Xbox more than big budget, exciting, unique exclusives. And yes, I think Hi-Fi Rush was the beginning of that, but when you look at something like the delay for 2022, where you get Redfall and Starfield push out of the year as we're approaching that game showcase, I will never forget that as a gaming fan because the excitement was palpable. We're heading into the showcase. We already had a release date for Starfield. What's the release date for Redfall? How is Xbox gonna dominate this holiday? Oh, it's so exciting. They're gonna deliver. And then they don't. They delay to an unknown date into 2023, and we had to wait for even answers on release dates. And with the developer direct and many weeks later, finally a random trailer from Starfield delivers those answers, and hype starts to pick back up once more. Okay, here we go. This is probably your last chance to deliver, so let's make it right. And you'd think with the optimism building up, a lot of folks understand, all right, it stinks we have to wait, but this is what Xbox needs to do to deliver the most quality product, which is what matters. But when you're also buying companies like Bethesda, a pending deal with Activision, you sort of need to make a statement to fans that we're going to produce the best possible video game for you, no matter the cost, at least early on for optics' sake, to show that when you buy these companies, you're not making gaming worse. Not that if Bethesda were on their own, Redfall would be a 60 FPS game, but still, it leaves a little bit more to the imagination given today's fate, where we learned that Redfall is 30 FPS. Here are my thoughts ultimately, and you're more than welcome to have your own. This game should be delayed. At least on consoles, it should absolutely be delayed for optics reasons. We don't have data right now that suggests, okay, you're a 30 FPS game like Gotham Knights, like a Plague Tale Requiem, you're going to lose sales here. But in the terms of optics following this deal, you probably should delay this, because I think it's just an awful look, and especially for console owners who have supported you for so long and been patient with you for so long. I get that Xbox wants to reach beyond the box itself with Game Pass, with cloud streaming, and be on every single screen, every single service, taking that Netflix approach. I get it, but do not forget who got you here. And it's the people who were buying the box, absolutely, who hung around with you, absolutely. And I think when you see something like this, it just shows they're thinking well beyond the core base and do not care. And I find that to be a particularly distasteful look. So I think it should be delayed. I know many people will go, it's 30, who cares? It's again about a first-person shooter, which should just be in 60 on its own, but an online FPS now, that demands, to me at least, 60 FPS. And yes, it's showing that they are capable of providing it. They're just willing to do so at a later date. And it stings, especially because I have sort of warmed up to Redfall following my preview, the coverage that we've seen of it. I went, okay, this is looking more and more like an Arcane game I can really get behind. I was unsure because of the multiplayer. Who knows if it ends up fully delivering, but I think I'll end up liking this one more than I liked Deathloop. And to see the most talk about this game be this story right here is such a shame, because the real story could have been delivering the high quality product at launch, and it can still be that, by the way. Thousands and thousands of players arriving. The most played Arcane game is here, and that is the story. But now the story is, wow, Xbox digging their own grave once more. It also gets a little awkward when you're talking about being the most powerful console and you get PlayStation out here just dunking on you left and right. It's embarrassing. To me, this is like when Demon's Souls Remake launched if they just had quality mode. They didn't have 60 FPS mode. I just couldn't fathom PlayStation doing that. And Xbox needs to create that culture. You need to create the culture of prestige, premium experiences, where you look at a game and go, I'm going to get the best possible gaming experience here. You wonder why Xbox is being outsold 2-1 right now. Things like this are why. It's about delivering games, and when you deliver them, delivering the best possible experience. When you eliminate all those platforms and you get to focus on just one, that you deliver the best possible experience. And I get it. I get game development's not easy. It's a massive undertaking. It's super difficult. And it is an achievement, a true achievement, when your game does make it out the door. And especially when it's dang good. I get it. But you understand, as a platform holder, as developers, the fan expectations. This should be a non-starter in my opinion. Like, no, we can't do this with the 30 FPS only. And what I feel bad about too for Arcane is they're just trying to find a W here. They need a game, I think, that has a massive player base like Redfall for that kind of morale of, oh, you know what? We've made amazing games in Dishonored and Prey and so on, but they've never really caught that massive multi-million player base unless it was subsequential releases combined. But when you look at this now, I'm seeing a story here that's absolutely going to turn into Redfall had to walk so Starfield could run. And yeah, of course, I'm a huge supporter of Starfield and Bethesda Game Studios, but this to me just smells like the litmus test to make sure that, can we get away with Starfield at 30 FPS? The answer was always no. Fans made that very clear from the get-go when we saw the initial gameplay in 2022. Like, y'all know, this is not what we're going to play at launch, right? Like, we're not going to play in 30, right? And it looked smoother in the new release date trailer. I don't want to run too far away with that because it was off-screen gameplay, but it did look smoother. So, ladies and gentlemen, I feel bad for Redfall because this is likely the testing grounds to make sure if Starfield can launch at 30 FPS. And if they were planning on doing that, I could totally see a reality where Starfield gets another delay. I really, really could here. But the story is about Redfall. Redfall, absolutely on consoles, should get a delay. And here's the problem is This is why you can't have a self-inflicted wound like this, because the competition in 2023 is so steep. And now Xbox has just made it easy. They made it so easy for people, because you look at Jedi Survivor, Dead Island 2, Tears of the Kingdom, all in proximity of a 2-week window from Redfall's release window. What do y'all think's gonna happen? Game Pass can only go so far before people start to value their time over the money. And if the time isn't well spent, it doesn't matter how many games you give away. You need to provide the highest quality experience and make it unbelievable that that game is in Game Pass, that I can just download it or stream it on the cloud and wow, it's doing everything. This is incredible. And I'm paying $15 a month. Now, because of this news, a lot of people have come to me over on Twitter especially and been like, didn't you play the game in 60? What's going on with that? Now, I'm gonna give myself a light pat on the back here, because I showed patience in my preview and noted some performance concerns. And I said, I'm going to wait till we're closer to launch to see if we get any more answers on this, because I played it on PC. It was mostly in 60 FPS, but I noted during my preview experience where, by the way, we couldn't directly capture gameplay. Not always a red flag, mind you. Like Jedi Survivor looks incredible, but you couldn't do direct capture for that event is what I was told. But with Redfall, there was no direct capture, meaning we couldn't take our own experience and just show it to all of you. We had to wait until it was provided for us. And so a lot of folks came to me and said, was this indicative of your experience? And no, it was mostly 60, but I did note in my preview that there were times where I would leave the fire station. And when I left the fire station, the game's performance tanked through the floor and then would pick back up. And I noted that it may have been like a streaming data issue potentially, because it felt like the world was loading, where it would severely stutter and then come back together. And I said, maybe this is an optimization problem where they're just a couple months from launch at this point, and you know, they'll figure it out. They got to just tie some loose threads together and it shouldn't be that big of an issue. And now we see the 30 FPS problem, and that kind of exaggerates the issue that I was having during the preview potentially, where I could see it becoming a major problem. I hope not, but I do get those flashbacks to the conversation surrounding Arcane when it came to Dishonored 2. Dishonored 2 was a fantastic video game that I defend to this day. I say it's one of the best stealth games ever. But when it launched, all anyone talked about was this stupid PC port. And while my experience with the PC port wasn't bad in a 2-hour window, just knowing what happened there, now seeing the 30 FPS story, I could see it lining up to be a repeat of that again. And I really hope it's not, man. Like, Arcane's one of my favorite developers in the industry. I really hope not. But this stings. And I, again, can't help but worry after this about Starfield. If this is the standard you're going to set for yourself, Xbox, be happy with being in second or third place all the time. If that's what you're okay with, then so be it. But I think Xbox fans deserve a lot better here. I know some folks will say this is dramatic because it is just, I put that in quotes, 30 FPS. But again, there's an optics level to it that you have to consider, which may be different down the line. And there is definitely a performance thing here, which matters for the type of game it is. This isn't Pentiment, for example, which I love, that could easily get away in being 30 FPS. No, this game is a different beast. It should be in 60. Arcane admitting it can be in 60 means that we as fans can wait. And I think a lot of fans are going to wait, unfortunately. And that stings for Arcane. That's Xbox's own fault. But we'll see what they do. Do I anticipate them delaying this game in response to fan feedback? It'll be a conversation. I don't know if they will, because we already have Forza being delayed. Now we have Redfall being delayed. How much does Xbox want to push back the timeline? Does 30 FPS matter? I'm sure they have metrics on that. My guess is the conversation will happen and they'll decide not to. I think they're going to do the Gotham Knights moment here and just go straight into launch 30 FPS, hand out reviewers PC codes, and let that be the conversation so it's not overly distracting. We'll see if I'm correct on that. Time will tell. If they were to respond to this at all, I'd give it a week at most. But if we hear nothing after that, I'm going to say they're heading straight into launch as is. Again, we'll see in due time. I'm hoping Arcane and Xbox pull out of this as unscathed as possible, but they're controlling their own destiny here. It's up to them on what they want to do. And if they don't care, that sends a pretty clear message to Xbox fans. So we'll see, but thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on Redfall being 30 FPS down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.